Hello, everybody. I hope you're doing well. Welcome to the Thought Leader Author Forum. Hello, Katrina. Gosh, we see each other every week now, don't we, Katrina? It's going to get to a stage where I'm going to feel weird if you don't turn up. We're like, where's Katrina? This doesn't feel right. Welcome
Bit
and
like
thank you
Stanley as
again.
well.
Danny as well. I was going to say, if you two don't turn up one of these weeks, I'm just going to feel like I might just fall off my treadmill and just go, oh my God, what's happened? The world. Welcome, Stanley. Thank you for joining me again. How are you doing?
Doing fantastic, and I don't want to miss anything that you bring. So,
Oh,
yes.
thank you so much. Hello, Lyndon. Welcome. I hope
Hi.
you're doing well. Hello. I hope you're doing well. Harvey, lovely to see you again. And Claire, we
Hello.
don't see each other for months, and then we see each other twice in about 24
Twice in two
hours.
days. It's madness. People will talk. People will
People
talk.
will talk. We're like buses, nothing for ages, and then we see you see loads of them at the same time. Thank you so much for joining. Okay, so I'm going to let the room run for another couple of minutes, see who else is joining us. What I'd like for you to do in the meantime, if you can just go into the chat and let me know what you'd like to gain from today's session. Or if you've got a particular thing that you want to get from this session. You're giving me 45 minutes of your valuable time. I'm sure you're all like me, extremely busy. So you don't just have 45 minutes so you can just fritter away. So you're here to actually get something. So it really helps me to know what it is that you're looking for. Hopefully that means I actually cover this today. Or if I'm unable to cover it today, I can get in touch with you later on a one-to-one, or I can even, if it's something really juicy, I can even create another forum dedicated to that topic. Okay, so just go into the chat while we're waiting to see if there's going to be anybody else who's joining us. Just go into the chat and let me know what you'd like to gain from it. Okay, so I've already got some messages. Let me get the chat up so I can see. So Claire says, just love learning about AI. It's so interesting, isn't it, Claire? Oh my God. I went on a program. I'm still on the program. It's almost a year-long program. And I started on it, I think February time of this year. I did it literally. The only reason I went on this program is that feeling of I need to learn. I'm going to be left behind. I just had this feeling that AI is going to be what websites were 20 years ago, and all the people who thought that the internet was just a fad, those businesses don't exist anymore, you know? So I've just got this feeling that AI is going to be like what the internet was when it first came to business and entrepreneurship. So I did this program only because of that reason. I've fallen in love with it now. Absolutely. I actually look forward. I have 2 hour-long sessions a week, and I look forward to them. So it's really surprised me. Stanley, staying authentic in the world of art. Oh, that's a big one, Stanley. We'll definitely cover that today. Definitely cover that today. Katrina says, I appreciate using Chat GPT for editing, but not sure how to use it otherwise in writing. Excellent. That's exactly what today is for, Katrina. So you will actually learn specific prompts that my clients use to help them with their books. Okay. So don't worry, you're going to get all of that. Okay. So it's 4 minutes past 12. Hi, Harvey. Lovely to see you again. Oh, Lyndon says, oh, this is interesting. I'd like to find some regulations being implemented to allow genuine authors to excel. I'm one of them. I love AI for structuring, summarizing. Yes, absolutely, absolutely. And one thing, and I'll go into this in a little bit, Lyndon, but one thing you will learn about AI so far, please don't come back to me in 10 years' time and say, Vitali, you were wrong. AI's taken over and now we're going to be extinct. I'm like, I didn't know this was going to happen. I'm not talking about in 10 years' time. But right now, AI can't be really used without a human being there. So the really savvy human beings, instead of seeing it as a threat, as something that's going to take away their livelihood, what they're doing is like, no, I need to upskill myself so I can use AI, so I can become even more efficient. And therefore, I have a more valuable business, or if they're an employee, I become an even more valuable employee. So that's the attitude to take. What's going to happen in the future? I've got no idea. I really don't know about that. Harvey, yeah, excellent. How to ask the right questions. The technical term, Harvey, is prompt engineering. Sounds really fancy, doesn't it? It's really not that fancy, and I'll break that down in a minute. It's called prompt engineering, but really all it breaks down to is how to ask AI the right questions so you get the right output. And that's exactly what we'll be covering. Welcome, my three. I hope you're doing well. It's been a while since I've seen you, my love. I hope you're doing well. Okay, so let's get started. So I think, can I ask everybody to be on mute just for the next few moments? That way, as you can see, I'm walking and talking at the same time. You really don't want to see me fall off this treadmill. And if there's a loud bang or something like that, that could happen. So thank you for being on mute just for the first few minutes. Okay, so let me just bring up my presentation. There we go. Okay, so can everyone see the screen? If you just put a thumbs up, because I know you're on mute, just excellent. Thank you so much. Just to make sure that everyone can see this. Okay, so first of all, thank you for coming to the Thought Leader Author Forum. A number of familiar faces as well. So you guys are now getting used to the structure of the Thought Leader Author Forum. So basically, there's two parts to the forum. The first part is we talk about the topic of today. So today we're talking about the ethics of Chat GPT. By the way, when I say Chat GPT, I mean AI, okay? I don't actually mean just Chat GPT, because well, we're talking about all kinds of AI, and I actually use a lot of, they're called LLMs, large language models. And ChatGPT is only the most famous one. I'm also using something called Gemini, which is Google's version. I'm also started tinkering with Claude a few weeks ago, and I'm starting to find that different ones are better at different things. So it's almost like they're finding their own niche, really. So when I say Chat GPT, it's because that's what people think of when we think of AI. But I actually mean all AI. I'm not just talking specific to Chat GPT. And what I teach today can be used outside of Chat GPT. You can use it on Gemini or Claude or whatever. So part one, we're going to be talking about the ethics of Chat GPT and prompts for brainstorming, book planning, and writing that will save you time, energy, and frustration. That's what it's all about. I kind of get bored when people start talking about AI as like this fun thing that they're going to have. It's like, you know what's fun for me? Going for a walk. I don't really want to be sat in front of a computer learning about AI. I'd rather go and spend time with my friends. I'd rather go and find a beer garden. The only time I'm interested in AI is if it's saving me time, it's saving me energy, it's saving me frustration, it's making me money. Those are the only reasons that I'm interested in AI. So that's the only things I teach. If it's not going to save you time and energy, it's not going to make you money, then I'm not going to bother telling you guys about it, because I'm not bothered about it. Okay. And then part two is my favorite part of the forum. That's when I take questions and I get feedback from you. And that's when you can bring yourself to the table. It's my favorite part of the forum because I get to hear your thoughts. So please do get involved, because that's how you get the most out of the forum. Okay, why can't I move next slide? There we go. And also, because you've attended the forum today, welcome, Sarah, by the way. Hope you're doing well. I see that you joined us a little late. You'll also get this workbook. So feel free to scribble down anything you want while I speak. However, rest assured, if you miss something, or if you don't fancy scribbling something down, you just feel like relaxing with a cup of tea, you can do that, because everything I talk about today and more that I don't have time to cover everything, you will get this workbook emailed to you tomorrow morning. So you'll get that. And also, just to thank you, the regulars here will know about this, just to thank you for coming to the forum. You can choose one of these amazing causes and we will donate on your behalf. In fact, I'm going to actually put this link into the chat now, because that way you guys can do that while you're speaking to me. So there you go. Please do click on. I'm always amazed how many people don't. And so it's almost like I'm asking for money from your own pocket. No, I'm not. We're doing this on your behalf. So it literally costs you nothing apart from the energy of clicking a link. That's literally all it takes you. So please do go and make a difference. And it just means you've done your good deed for the day. How cool is that? It's not even halfway through the day yet, and you've already done your good deed for the day. Okay, so let's get started. So earlier this week, I ran a poll. You know, I love running my polls. I love seeing what my audience is thinking. So I asked them, do you or would you choose ChatGPT to help you write a book? 47%, this is so interesting, 47% said yes. 5% said no, but they don't know how to. So that gets me thinking they would, but they just don't know how to. And 49% said no, it's unethical. So it's almost 50-50, really, isn't it? There's people who are saying, yes, I would. Other people saying, no, they wouldn't. It's really interesting. What's really interesting is I ran this poll a year or so ago, and it was different. Then we had almost 70% of people saying, no, it's unethical, and not many people saying yes. So we can see the difference that just a year and a half, 2 years is already making. People are slowly warming up to AI and thinking, okay, this is here to stay and we need to use it. So this is just some of the comments that I got, which I found really interesting. So at least I'd say yes for research and ideas, but not for the actual writing. When people buy a book written by you, they expect it to be your words and thoughts. I completely agree. You can't just let AI run riot and write a book for you, okay? Especially these kinds of books. Because these books, if you're following me for any length of time, you know that I help people write books for personal branding and thought leadership. Well, it has to be your thoughts then. Although you can't really call yourself a thought leader if it's not your thoughts. So people who will buy your book, they'll expect it to be your words and thoughts. So you can't just let AI run amok. However, can you use it for research and ideas? Absolutely. So Jan says, yes, but the book has to be based on my knowledge and not on the AI knowledge. If I don't have something meaningful to say, why write a book? Absolutely true. Absolutely true. And I'll say this with a caveat, because some people think what that means is, oh my God, I have to have something completely brand new to say in my book. No, I've had many clients who have taken research and work that's already out there and collated it together, but they've still put their own viewpoint and thoughts towards it. That's what I mean. And that's something that AI can't do and that you need to do. This is an interesting one from Nikki. So Nikki says, I think for me, it's a simple no. I think you can tell the difference in the writing form from Chat GPT to a human. Chat GPT is samey. The human individual's experiences need to shine through. I agree with the final sentence. The human individual's experiences need to shine through. Absolutely. However, I would say to Nikki, how would you know when Chat GPT has done a good job then? And that's what you got to ask yourself. So Nikki is saying that she can tell the difference when it's Chat GPT and when it's a human. And I say, well, Chat GPT, like AI, it's a bit like a toupee, really, isn't it? You know, when we look at people who've got bad toupees on, we think, oh my God, that's terrible. You look better bald. You shouldn't have bothered with a toupee. However, how would you know if you're in the presence of someone wearing a great toupee? You wouldn't see the toupee. You just see a great head of hair. That's the same thing with AI. So I would suggest to Nikki that she's probably been in the presence of great AI content and she didn't even realize. She's only picking up on the bad stuff. So that's what today's forum is all about, helping you do that. Create content that doesn't look like it's come from ChatGPT, that it looks like it's come from a human, okay? So let's go through the unethical uses of ChatGPT. It basically comes down to plagiarism and cheating. In other words, passing off work as your own. Okay, that's the main unethical use of ChatGPT. You should not be passing off work as your own. So the reasons why you shouldn't do it, well, it's terrible for your reputation if you're found out, and you will get found out. Someone will find you out. So bearing in mind the entire concept of these books for thought leadership is to enhance your reputation. It could be doing the opposite. You could be damaging your reputation. You would have been better off not writing the book in the first place. And the second reason is it does not work for books designed for personal branding and thought leadership. Remember, it's thought leadership. Someone that is interested in you, your thoughts, your background, your personal take on a particular subject. So therefore, you have to be part of the process. Robin said it beautifully. He sent me this a few weeks ago now, and he said AI is for augmentation, not replacement. I love that. He's been saying it for a while, that AI shouldn't stand for artificial intelligence. It should be augmented intelligence. I mean, saying that AI should be called augmented intelligence, not artificial. We should use it to augment our capabilities, to extend or broaden our capabilities, to give us better insights and perspectives. I remember when I got this, I kind of applauded it to myself. I wish I'd thought of that, but that's absolutely true. Don't think of AI as artificial intelligence, because that gives this idea that it's replacing. Like I said, don't come back to me in 10 years' time or 20 years' time when possibly we have been replaced by AI and we're now living in some dystopian future. I couldn't have predicted that. All I can say is right now, it's not replacing you, it's augmenting you. So think of AI as augmented intelligence instead of artificial intelligence. Now, a word about prompt engineering. I'm not going to go deeply into prompt engineering here. Just to give you an idea, and there's a couple of people who joined us late, I've been on an AI program since February. I've been putting probably about 4 hours of work in a week on that program. I'm only halfway through. It's going to run for the rest of the year. But even what I've learned in nearly 5 months, how am I meant to condense all of that into 45 minutes a day? It's almost impossible. So I can't really go into the ins and outs of prompt engineering, but I will give you a little bit of a hint that will hopefully help you. All the prompt engineering I've learned so far, all the prompt engineering is about is giving the AI context. That's a word you need to remember. It's context. What I used to do when I started playing around with AI, whether it's Chat GPT or Gemini or whatever it was, is just going straight in and saying, hey, can you write me an email on such and such? And that's it. What I've learned about prompt engineering is before you do the actual prompt, write a paragraph on your situation. So for example, put in, I am a fitness coach. This is my audience. This is what I'm trying to gain from this email, this article, this book, whatever piece of content you need to create. Give it as much context as possible, then add your prompt. When you do that, you get much, much better results. I wish someone had told me this earlier, because I spent the best part of 3 or 4 months not really being able to get the right content that I wanted to get out of AI. But no one told me, before you actually put the prompt in, have you told the AI everything about you? You need to, and then what I did was I created like this big long passage, this paragraph of who I am, who my audience is, you know, how I serve them, what results I get them. I created that. And then what I did was I just saved it. So in the future, I just copied and pasted that in before every single prompt that I used. But that's really helped me get not just ChatGPT, but other AI to respond and create the content that I wanted to create, because it understands things like context, it understands things like audience, and it understands things like what you're trying to gain from this piece of content. You know, are you wanting people to share it? Are you wanting people to click a link on it? Are you wanting people to buy something from it? Whatever it is, you need to tell it, and then it will fashion content with that context in mind. Okay, so I can't, like I said, I can't go really deep into this because I'm still learning. I'm only 5 months into my program and I've already done so many hours. There's no way I can condense all of that into the short amount of time we've got today. But just take that piece of advice, feed into AI all the context, and you only have to do it once and then save it somewhere. Just save it somewhere on your desktop or on your cloud storage or wherever, and you've got that every single time you want to create a prompt. Okay, so let's go into some of the prompts that my clients are using. So this is a really, really good one. This is great. I mean, we've used this a few times now. This is great for my clients who come to me and they want to write a book, but they really don't have a set idea. They like the idea of becoming an author. They want to either speak on stages or they want to get media attention or whatever it is. And yet they haven't got a proper crystallized idea for their book. This is a great prompt to use. So you just put in, generate 10 ideas for a nonfiction book about, and you put your topic in. So for example, you can put in the topic of animal agriculture and environmental impact, or whatever it is, whatever your topic is. Again, remember, you're going to get the best results if you engineer the beginning part before you put this in. Imagine how much more powerful this would be if you put in, I'm an environmental consultant, I'm working with this kind of audience. The results I want to get from people after reading this book is A, B, and C. You put all of that context in first, and then you put this prompt in. You'll get far better ideas than if you just put this prompt in as is. Okay, so I hope you can see how you can do that. But the prompt to use is generate 10 ideas for a nonfiction book about, and you put in the topic. Okay, this one's really good. Identifying sources. Okay, so my clients use this a lot, especially when they're writing about something scientific or from medical world or anything like that. You really need to back up everything that you say. However, sometimes just using Google and trying to find sources, it can be difficult. It can take you hours to find the right sources. So the prompt to use is generate a list of reliable sources for researching and putting whatever it is. So in this case, the example I've used is researching the causes of climate change. Now, there is a warning. I'm going to give you a caveat with this. Once ChatGPT creates a list of sources, don't just believe it. Go and check it out. Okay, go and make sure, because this, by the way, is happening less and less. When ChatGPT first came out to the public, it's been around since about 2018, but when it first came out to the public back in November 2022, it had a habit of making stuff up. So there was a lot of problems. It's been really tight. It hasn't even happened to me now. It's become very, very good. Now in 2024, it even links you to the actual sources that it didn't used to do before. So now it will generate a list of reliable sources, and it'll even link to where they found that source on Google. However, still make sure, do your due diligence, click on those links and find those sources and verify that those sources are credible and they are correct and ChatGPT hasn't made something up. The onus is on you. You are not allowed to just blame AI later when someone tries to sue you for saying something wrong. It's not going to wash with anybody. They're going to say, well, it doesn't matter. You should have done your due diligence. So by all means, use this prompt, but then make sure you actually click on the links and make sure those sources are credible and are correct. Okay. Next one that my clients use a lot. This one is great for, I would say, some of my clients who are very short on words. I get some of my clients don't need that. In fact, I get some clients who are the opposite. They actually just go on and on and on. And then it's like, no, you're going to end up writing 120,000 word behemoth that no one wants to read. So we have to actually condense them and cut it down. But then I do get some clients who are very few with their words. And it's like, come on, you can expand it a little bit. So a great prompt to use is generate ideas for expanding upon this paragraph. And you actually put in your paragraph. So if you feel like, oh, I can say more about this, but I can't be bothered to really list out, exactly. So for example, let's have a look at this paragraph. Let's actually look at the example. So the example I've got is, the paragraph is, engaging in physical activity plays a crucial role in preserving one's well-being. It enhances cardiovascular fitness, builds muscle strength, and lowers the likelihood of chronic conditions like obesity, diabetes, and heart disease. Pretty decent. But to be honest, you could really go into it. You can actually talk about exactly what kinds of physical activity will help one's well-being. You can go into things like exactly how does it, enhance cardiovascular fitness? How does it build muscle strength? How does it lower the likelihood of chronic diseases? Now, you already know this. As the author, I would expect somebody writing this in a book to be quite knowledgeable, But it just could be like, oh, I can't be bothered to write this. And again, this is where it's such a time saver. You can just put in, generate ideas for expanding upon this paragraph, and yet let AI expand it for you. And AI will now go in and actually research on Google and find out exactly how does physical activity enhance cardiovascular fitness. It will actually give you examples and even stories that you can add in. Now, again, the caveat is you don't just use it as it is. My mentor on my AI program, he has a term. He says, he keeps saying it again and again, so it's now in my head, human in the loop. He always says the human is always in the loop. As soon as you take human out of the loop and you let AI run amok, it goes wrong. And you start getting content that you think, no, this is completely wrong. It's a waste of time. So this does not mean you just expand it and then use as is. You need to read through and make sure you're happy with what it's expanded in and amend bits of it to suit your voice and what you're trying to say. But this is a real time saver. And like I said, great for people who struggle to write a lot of words down. They're kind of very short with their words. I'm sure you've met people like that, with people who just literally their sentences, like they can only do like 6-word sentences and then they stop, you know. For those kind of people, this is great, and it's really helped them expand on their work without having to think about it. And then they've just gone and edited it, because that's so much easier. Always remember, it's far more difficult starting something than actually going in with something is already half done, but you just need to go in and perfect it and change it. That doesn't feel like much of a task, whereas starting something just feels like a huge task. And this is something that's really helped a lot of my clients. This is a really, really good one. So this, you can use AI for generating an outline for your book. So the prompt is, please write an outline for a nonfiction book about, and you put in what the book is about. Then remember, prompt engineering, you could just leave it at that, as that. But then you don't know what that AI is thinking at that moment. It could actually think, oh, it's going to be a brief book. It's going to be one of those downloadable ebooks. So therefore, it creates an outline that's too small. Or it could suddenly decide that, oh my God, this person wants to write War and Peace, and gives you an outline that's absolutely huge. So give it context. Tell it, for example, here, I put the book should be around 200 pages and should include chapters on. And you lead it. Say, I want this book to include chapters on, for example, the government's role, the history of social mobility, how the UK rates against other first world countries. Give it context and then allow it to create an outline. And again, you'll be amazed at how well it creates an outline. Again, do not just use it as it is. Human in the loop, go through it. I severely doubt you would just say, yeah, that's it, perfect, let's go with it. Chances are you'll go through it and you'll want to move things around. You'll want to add things. You'll want to delete some things. That's absolutely fine. But remember, it's so much easier to work on something that exists. Even if you have to change 50% of it, it's still easier than starting from scratch. If you're like me, I think I speak for most people, the worst thing is a blank piece of paper or a blank page. And with Katrina's nodding her head at me. Yeah, there's nothing worse, is it? You just got this page and he's got this cursor that's blinking at you. It's almost like teasing you. It's like, you know, come on, start. And you know what you want to say, and yet you don't know how to start. What I found AI does, it's completely got rid of my blinking cursor syndrome, and it's got rid of all my clients' blinking cursor syndrome. Even when they've had to change 50% or more, even that is preferable to starting from scratch, because it's overwhelming starting from scratch. This is a really good one. I really like Chat GPT for this, mainly because Chat GPT has been trained on a lot of the big copywriters. So some of these copywriters are now dead. They're not even alive. But some of the great copywriters in the world, living and dead, their content has been fed through Chat GPT. It means that Chat GPT can now take on all of that knowledge and create you wonderful titles and subtitles for your book. Okay, so instead of you sat there scratching your head and you're thinking, oh, what's that title that's really going to make people go, oh my God, this book is so intriguing, I need to pick it up and buy it, I need to consume it, let ChatGPT do it. And like I said previously, you don't have to go with everything that ChatGPT says. What a lot of my clients do is they like the title of one bit, but they like the subtitle of another bit, or they've liked two titles, but they've picked one, and the second title they've expanded into a subtitle. So you can do whatever you want with it. You don't have to take it as it is. But again, it's just so much better than starting from scratch. So the prompt they use, my clients use, is please generate 5 different titles and subtitles for a book about, and then you explain what the book is about. Okay. So as you can see, it's the same book that I used for the previous one. So if you look at that, generating an outline for a book, it's the same one. So it's the same book about social mobility. Now, a tip here. If this is the first prompt you are using, then you need to give it context, which is why I've gone through again. As you can see, I've explained again, this is a book about social mobility, should be around 200 pages, should include chapters on ABC, okay? However, if you did this prompt first, where you've done an outline for a book, then you don't have to give it context again. This is something else that's wonderful about ChatGPT, and also Gemini and Claude have caught up as well, is that it understands the sequence of your prompts as well. So if you've done this prompt where you've created an outline, then you can actually say, please generate 5 different titles and subtitle options for the book that I was talking about earlier, or for the book above. And it actually understands that. It's so clever. It actually understands that, oh, so the thing that you did previously when she was asking me to create an outline for a book about social mobility, she now wants options for titles and subtitles for the same book. That way you don't have to type it again, what the book is about, how long it is, what chapters you want to include. You do not have to put that in again, okay? Now this is a bonus. Now this was a bonus. However, you may not need this by the end of the year. So this is something that I got at the beginning of the year. It's called chatbdf.com. So you can make a note of that, or you guys will get the workbook. So it's all in there in the workbook that you'll get tomorrow morning anyway. But what I loved about Chat PDF is it could read PDFs. Okay, and that was such a game changer for me. So I've got the annual, it's just under £112, or you can pay monthly £15.99. I think it's still the same price, but I got it earlier this year. And for me, it was a game changer because I can literally put in studies, I can put in reports, I can put in entire books in PDF. Like I'm talking 60,000 word books, and literally get it to give me a summary. What are the main points? And even ask it questions that I need to understand. So I don't need to spend huge amounts of time reading laborious studies or reports or even entire books. So it's been a game changer for me. However, I have been told that ChatGPT now is already starting to read PDFs. It's not as powerful as Chat PDF yet, but bearing in mind these things come on in leaps and bounds, I suspect by the end of the year, maybe even earlier than that, Chat GPT itself will be able to do the job. Then you don't have to pay this, because I'm paying for the paid version of Chat GPT anyway. That's about $20 a month. So I'm paying that anyway. I will no longer need to get this, because ChatGPT will be able to do it. Okay, so it's entirely up to you. By the way, this ability for ChatGPT to be able to read PDFs and for you to then question it about the PDF and give you specific answers that you want, that, as far as I'm aware, is only going to be available for ChatGPT 4, the 4th version. That one you have to pay for. It's about $20 a month. For the free version, 3.5, I don't know if they're going to release it on 3.5 or not. So then it's a case of you've got to weigh up your options. If you're using ChatGPT a lot, then it probably makes more sense to upgrade to the 4th version, the 4.0, and not pay for this. But if you're not using ChatGPT all that much, then this is actually cheaper. It's £112 a month, or £16 a year, £16 a month. Actually £16 a month, which is probably equivalent to $20 a month for ChatGPT. So you may just get ChatGPT. But I suppose if you paid annually, it'd be cheaper for you to get this instead of the paid version of ChatGPT. But I just want to put that in there. I'm not planning on renewing this, because I suspect by the time this comes up for renewal for me, because I'm on the paid version of ChatGPT, it will also by then be reading PDFs as well as this. So I will no longer need this. This will be surplus to requirements. But I want to put that in there just in case, if you do a lot of, if you have to go through a lot of studies, if you have to go through a lot of reports, if you have to go through like loads of books, especially like academic books, which can be so laborious to go through and not really a fun read, but you need to do it because you need to stay on top of your industry and your subject matter. This has been a game changer for me, because I can literally throw books in there and reports in there and then just ask it questions, and then it gives me what I need to get, just what I need to get from that particular study or report or book. Okay, so let me come out of this. So I'd love to know, first of all, thoughts. Well, first of all, did anyone get a gem out of there, or was it pretty much most of the things that you already know? I'd love to understand where you are when it comes to AI, how much understanding you have of it. Go for it, Claire. Go for it.
Yeah, just what you were saying about the putting in the information beforehand so it understands who you are and what you're about. I was doing that with the Word document, and then I've paid for the upgrade of ChatGPT.
Yes.
And what I did was I asked ChatGPT to ask me some questions and told it that I was going to create my own GPT about my business,
Yes.
which is, so it asked me all the questions, and then I said, right, can you now summarize this into a document so that I can create a GPT that knows about my business? So now I have a separate GPT that I can use, and it's already got all that information in it. So whenever I go to ask it anything, to start creating anything, it already knows like the perspective I'm coming from and everything, which makes everything so much quicker.
I love that. And in Chat GPT 4, there is a section where you can just feed it. So you can, I mean, just before I lose some people, because some people are gonna be like, what do you mean? How do you have your own GPT? How does that even work? Okay, so if you have the paid version of Chat GPT, you can create your own little mini GPT that learns about you. Okay, so that and that can be, it takes a little bit of time to set up initially, but ends up saving a whole host of time later, because you've got this thing that actually is learned, and you can feed it. You can even feed it your books, you can feed it your articles, you can feed it things, and it actually learns about you. It's almost like creating a little sort of AI version of you. Now that is only available if you're on the paid version of ChatGPT. So just explaining what my GPT is. But also, if that is too much for you, and if you're thinking, okay, maybe later, but that's not something I really want to tackle right now, on the paid version of ChatGPT, you've got a section in the settings where you can actually put in context, and then it will remember that context every single time you log in to ChatGPT. So again, you don't have to keep putting that context in. You can go straight into the prompt. I hope that makes sense.
You can also, on the free version, say, ask me some questions so you get to know me.
Yes.
You can't set up your own GPT, but you can actually go through those questions, and it does remember them, although maybe not as accurately as on the paid version.
Yeah, not between chats. It kind of loses, you know, if you start a new chat, so if I'm starting a new course creation activity or something, doesn't remember the conversation I had. It's almost like they're separate, like little separate brains, really. They don't talk to each other.
I personally think I mean, I don't know if you agree with me, I'm sure you do. It's worth the $20 a month to be.
Oh, absolutely.
It's not, when I first started, I was like, really? Do I really want to pay $20 more for another piece of software? But now that I'm fully engaging in it and getting into it, the amount of time it saves and not having to put context in and just understands where I'm at, yeah, it's worth the $20. And now with the fact that it looks like it's going to start, it's already started reading PDFs, and I think by the end of the year, am I right here, Claire? Because I know you'll become a bit of an AI freak like I have. Is it true that by the end of the year, it's going to have the capabilities to even understand context of images that you upload? I don't think it's there yet, but I think by the end of the year, they're planning on doing that. So that'll be amazing. You can actually put an image of yourself or doing something, and it starts understanding. It blows your mind, doesn't it? It's like, how is it doing that? But it's starting to understand context of images as well. So think of all the images you've got around there in your business. Like so many images of you, maybe like winning awards or giving talks, and you can feed all of that in, and it's starting to get an understanding of who you are, and it's using all of that as context to create your content. So this is what I mean, you know, and Nikki, one of the ladies who replied back saying, you can tell when it's Chat GPT. So it's like, really? Are you sure you can?
Because I did something the other day with the lady. I was just doing some mentoring with her, business mentoring, and we did, she wanted to create, she does some kind of card reading thing, and she wanted to create these kind of personalized PDFs for her clients when she'd done the card reading with the message on and everything. So we could put a picture. So we just experimented with put a picture of me in. And we said, kind of based on this image, can you create a kind of spiritual picture with all like light and candles and all that kind of, and it just made this, I mean, it didn't quite look like me, but you could see how close it was getting, that the person who perhaps was receiving that, how personalized that would be, how kind of really client-centered that is to create something like that. The other thing I was going to say about programming your own GPT is that when it gets something wrong, you just go into the back end and you just say, oh, just, you know, can you just make sure that you don't, like, I don't mention tools and techniques when I'm creating my courses for Insight Timer. And so I had to go back in and just say, right, just no mention of, just remove the words tools and techniques. Do not have those appear in any of my content creation. And then it'll do that rather than needing to keep reminding it all the time.
There's something else I find really funny. This only works on Gemini. It's a specific Gemini thing from what I hear. Is if it gets something wrong and it sounds really robotic or it sounds really over the top, you can actually say, this is cringe. And the poor thing actually says, I apologize, and then makes it more human. So you can actually, I know, and then I feel bad. It's like, oh my God, I've made that, I've upset Gemini. But you can say,
GPT apologizes as well when it gets things wrong. And I also think everybody, please remember to say please and thank you to the AI, because when they do take over, they'll keep the people who were polite.
Yeah, that's very true. Because we literally
get rid of everybody else.
We're basically creating a version of ourselves online, which then makes you think, will that version of ourselves then come and bite us in the ass and say we're the actual real version and you're not? So it does make me wonder where this is going to go. It can get quite scary, but all I can say is right now there's nothing to worry about. It is, as Robin said, remember AI stands for augmented intelligence. Don't think of artificial intelligence, not yet anyway, perhaps in the future, yes. Okay, so let me just check to see if has anyone got any other questions? I'm just going to check the chat.
Yeah, can I quickly ask,
Yes.
I came in late, so apologies for that.
That's
but
okay,
the fact that using Chat GPT to find sources for you sounds great, and yet she even, like you said, reading reports or stuff, because they can be dull as ditchwater depending on the industry you're in. That sounds fab. So can you use it, whilst we're obviously talking about using it for creating or helping write a book, can you do it for small things like social media? Because that's my bugbear, and I keep having great social media ideas, and then the thought of sitting down writing it doesn't happen, and then I lose the plot.
Yeah.
So that's one thing. It sounds like it might be really useful for creating posts and
every
stuff.
Every single prompt I gave you, apart from the one actually even titles and subtitles work. You need a title for your article. So yeah, even that prompt, all the prompts work for any piece of content. The only reason I talk about books, Katie, is because I'm a book publisher. So of course I talk about books. But everything, any of that works. And I would actually urge you to start doing that first. Books, that's quite a big undertaking. So with a lot of my clients, what I get them to do first is just to go off and do little things. I create LinkedIn articles and email sequences and get comfortable with AI first. And then you can move on to books, because books are still an undertaking. And remember that phrase, you need to be the human in the loop. You need to be really in the loop with a book. You can't just let AI run amok on 30, 40,000 words. So to get to grips with it, it's better to start working on much smaller pieces of content. So your 2,000 word articles, that kind of thing. Get to grips with it. Or if you're like me and Claire and you want to upgrade to the paid version, then you actually start feeding it information so it actually starts to get your context. The book needs to come a little bit later once you're comfortable.
Yeah, okay. And then my other one is, if you're putting all this information into, say you have got the paid version and you're putting a lot of information about you into, almost as you said, creating a mini AI version of you, is it secure? I mean, would it give some of your thoughts and processes and ideas to other people who might be putting in similar prompts?
Yeah. Well, this is the ongoing thing. This is, hello, Alan, lovely to see you. Hello, Mikey, I think you had some problems, so you went out, but good to see you back again. Yeah, this is the ongoing thing. So if you listen to the makers of AI, you've got nothing to worry about. Well, of course they're going to say you've got nothing to worry about. This is actually one of the reasons why I haven't yet so far, Claire, created my own GPT. The reason I've held off on that is I'm actually investigating other third-party apps that you can actually use it can actually learn about you and then give you prompts to use on Chat GPT or use. So almost creating this extra layer of security. Although some people say, well, how do you trust those people? It's like, well, actually, I don't. So, but I just think I'm almost kind of spreading my risk. Does that make sense? It's a bit like when you have loads of money, you spread your risk in the UK because it only covers you, like the government only cover you till about 80K. If anything happens to that institution and it collapses, you're only covered to 80K. So if I've got 500,000, I would spread that over several institutions to cover my ass, basically. That's kind of what I'm doing with AI. I'm kind of covering my ass a little bit. I don't want to be focused on just one entity because that causes a lot of problems. So I wish I could answer that, Katie. I wish I could see into the future. From what we've been told, it's become a lot more ethical. The reason, something you said, Claire, regarding that lady you were helping with the images. I assume you're using DALL-E, which is part of Chat GPT. The reason why the faces wasn't exactly that person is that's an ethical layer that's come in the last 12 months, which is the worry is people put other people's photos in, create generated photos and pass them off as real. You can imagine people, there's some horrible people out there. You can imagine what they would do. They would try to smear somebody who's famous saying, oh, they've been doing this when they haven't. So that's why it's actually purposely making sure the technology is there to actually create an image exactly in your likeness. But it's not doing that because it's coming up against an ethical layer and saying, no, I'm going to change it slightly so that person doesn't look exactly like that person. So it's actually doing it on purpose, which makes my heart feel happy. It's like, oh, they're already thinking in terms of ethics. So I don't know if that makes you feel better a little bit, Katie. They are thinking in terms of ethics. Have they got there completely? I don't know. I mean, there's all this stuff going about the former board director from OpenAI, who's now come out after Altman regarding she resigned because he doesn't think he's taking ChatGPT in an ethical direction. All this stuff is still ongoing, Katie. It's all new. Yeah. So I really, really don't know. No, what I would say is put in context, but nothing that is really, whatever you do not put in your client's details. Don't put anything that pinpoints you. Just putting in context. So in your case, you would put in context saying, I'm an expert in fitting bit and bridles for horses. I want to be seen as an authority on the fact that a lot of people don't even realize they're harming horses by the way they're fitting bit and bridle. My audience is mainly people who have horses, not horse instructors. Can you see what I mean? You put in context, but nothing that can really, you're not putting in, this is exactly who I've worked with, and you're not putting anything that is absolutely specific to you. I don't trust AI yet, because it's moving so fast that the law is struggling to keep up with it.
There is a new EU law coming out about AI.
Yeah.
But the problem is that it is out of date before they've got the law through. Copilot will allow you to opt out of your things being put into for the greater good. Chat GPT still gives a warning, don't put anything commercially confidential or confidential in it.
Yeah.
But I use Chat GPT when I got the blank thing going on around social media posts, and I had a blank screen when I was like, I'm doing a webinar later this week all about storytelling in the B2B space, and my brain went, so I just said, give me a PowerPoint outline for 30 minutes, and it did. And it was like, oh yeah, you stupid woman. That's all I needed it for.
Helps, and then you can tweak it. But yeah,
it was just to get rid of that writer's block.
Yeah, exactly. I don't get writer's block now, because like I said, even if you end up changing more than 50% of it, that's still better than starting from scratch, because that's just sometimes really overwhelming. It's like, you know what you want to say, and you don't know how to start it. So it really eliminates that. Something else I've found ChatGPT and Gemini and Claude really good for, if you've got a difficult email to send to somebody, so maybe like you're chasing up because they haven't paid an invoice or something like that. Again, put the context in, put it into ChatGPT. You don't have to use it as it is, but it really comes up, and you can even give it tone. You can even say, I want it to be quite stern, but still friendly, or I want it to be really friendly, or you can even give it tone, and you don't have to use it as it is. Always remember, human in the loop. You edit it to suit you, but again, you're not starting from scratch where you start thinking, oh, how do I start this email, because this isn't a pleasant email to send, but I need to send it. Use it. It's amazing what it can do for you. I just want to answer Stanley's question. Okay, so Stanley said, is there a specific resource that you recommend that walks you through a tutorial to fine-tune this as a practice? Are you talking about prompt engineering, Stanley? Is that what you're talking about?
Yes. So to minimize, like, AI has been one of those things that I've kind of played with a little bit, but I like my own creativity. It's just that I don't understand what I don't understand. So
yeah,
it's
I couldn't give you a specific resource. I'm on a year-long program to understand prompt engineering, so it's not something I think that can really be reduce down. Obviously, whatever I learn, Stanley, I disseminate it, so you guys will obviously learn from me, but I couldn't give you a specific resource yet. All I do know is from what I hear over the next year or two, there's going to be these third-party apps that use ChatGPT or use Gemini or use other LLMs, and that you can put the context in there, and then they kind of walk you through it. That's pretty much what Katrina was talking about, co-pilots. That's kind of what a co-pilot is. A co-pilot walks you through. So, for example, Microsoft have their co-pilot. Now, some people mistakenly call that a separate LLM. So they'll say, oh, well, I use ChatGPT and I use Gemini and I use Microsoft Copilot. And I'll say, no, Microsoft Copilot is a Copilot. It's not an LLM. It actually uses ChatGPT, but it's easier to use. So maybe you can start using Microsoft. Do you use Edge? Do you use Microsoft, or are you like me and a Chrome user or a Firefox user?
I use Chat GPT, the 3.5, and I get some access to 4.0 for some reason.
Yeah, you get some. No, I meant your browser. Which browser do you normally use?
Mostly I use Safari, but when I do like my video platform, I have to use Chrome because Safari doesn't support. Should I use a different platform? Should I use Chrome when I'm doing
Not Chrome, use Microsoft. So if you use Edge or whatever they call their browser, that actually now has AI built into it, but it's a co-pilot, so it talks you through things.
Oh. Yeah, no, I don't. I just don't understand what I don't understand.
Give it a go. Sorry, say again, Sarah?
No, that's all right. I was just responding to what Stanley said. I've literally, probably like the rest of us, I mean, I know Miss Harley's doing a course, but I've literally learned on the job. And if you've got Chat GPT and you've got some content, just drop it into the chat bar and just say, the more creative adjectives you can use, this is what I found, the more it will write for you. So if you want it, like Natalie said, to be stern, if you want it to be fun, if you want it to be salesy, if you use those adjectives, it totally changes the content. And if you say, oh, make this something fun and salesy for LinkedIn, or put this into LinkedIn speak, put this into Instagram speak, it literally changes the language. So you could use a paragraph of yours that you've already got maybe and just play around with it. That's the best way that I've learned. And like Natalia and Claire were saying, the more precise you hone down the prompt, it's created masterclasses for me. It's created masterclasses, PDFs, quotes at the beginning of every slide. If I'm doing a presentation that's relevant, if I don't like it, I'll say, give me another quote. Give me one by a female, not a male. Give me one that's somebody from 2020 onwards, not 1876. I mean, but it literally will just go run with you, but you just need to talk to it and definitely say please and thank you. Just talk to it like you're talking to the wisest person you know. That's what I do. I just like talk into it. You can visually talk, you can verbally talk into it if you've got the paid version. I've only got 3.5, but it can download. I mean, while we've been talking, I've dropped a PDF in a 10-page PDF into my 3.5 and said, give me the key points. And it's just listed out while we've been talking 20 key points from that PDF in the time we've just, in 10 seconds.
Therefore, it sounds like you don't even need Chat PDF anymore. So earlier this year, it wasn't doing that. So just to show how things are moving so fast, we're talking about less than half a year in. And that's why I'm saying in about 6 months' time, from what I can gather, it's going to start understanding context of images as well, which just blows my mind. You can literally just not even have to put in words now, just put in images and it'll understand the context of those images.
But Stanley, you don't necessarily need to use Edge. My other half just uses Bing as his search, and that's got Copilot built into it.
Does Bing have Copilot as well?
Yeah, because
okay, I thought it was just on the Edge, so that he can just use Bing.
You can just use Bing search engine because he uses it on his iPhone. So he uses the Bing search engine on the Safari, browser. And yeah, it's already in there.
I'm just mindful of time. So we've got Lyndon who still wants to ask a question. Before I take that question, Lyndon, let me just show you, if you want to carry on this conversation, this is the kind of thing we talk about in my book idea audit. So what I do is I have a book idea audit where you can get on a call with me one-to-one, and we actually go through your book idea. and make sure it makes sense, because you'll be amazed how many people come to me with a book idea and I go, that's just a terrible book idea for where you are in your life right now. Before you spend a lot of time and energy and possibly money trying to write a book, it's good to know whether the idea is good. And one of the things we look into is how you can use AI to help you narrow down on a great book idea. So before I go to Lyndon, if it's okay with you, Lyndon, if I just show you how you can book one of these audits with me. So let me just, let me share my screen. Hopefully you can see this. Okay, so this is just my very small Hall of Fame. I've got a much bigger Hall of Fame, but I can't fit everybody else in. But this is the kind of thing that my clients do. They end up on TV, they end up in national broadsheets, they end up working with well-known influencers and YouTubers. If you basically want to get your ideas and thoughts out there in a big way, that's what my clients do. So I just want to give you, this is Luke, who's written 2 books with me, an amazing gentleman, my only client from the Northeast. I don't know how I've managed to do that. Like, I have a client in New Zealand, have one in Hawaii, have them all around the world, but in my little neck of the woods, northeast of England, only ever had one client, and this is him. So this is Luke. And as you can see, he's talking about accountability, and he believes that, it's all about doing a book in the right way. And that's exactly what we'll do. We'll make sure your idea is good, and then we'll go through a plan of exactly how you're going to get there. So part 1, we'll audit your book ideas. We need to make sure it's right for you. It's not just about writing a book. It's just pointless. We need to make sure it's a book that will work for you and your business or brand or nonprofit, whatever it is that you have. Part two, we'll look at what process will help you succeed. And then part 3, if it seems suitable, and only if, we'll look at whether the Thought Leader Ecosystem, my program, can help you. And at that point, we can look at things like how long it takes, how much it costs, etc. So all you have to do, let me actually show you. In fact, let me put this into the chat now. If you want to book a call in with me so we can audit your book idea, can you see that link in the chat now? Is it there? Excellent, you can all see it. So all you have to do is just go here and you scroll down, do watch the video, because that'll just give you an understanding of exactly what to expect, and then just book yourself in. So you don't even have to go anywhere. It's actually, the calendar is imported in. You guys know how this works. You just go here, you just pick what date and time, and just put in your details. Do answer these questions, because I want to make sure that the time I spend with you is all, as cliched as it sounds, all killer and no filler. So if you can give me a bit of, I sound like an AI now, don't you? If you give me a bit of context, it means that we can use as much of our call to really audit your book idea and create a plan of action going forwards for you. If you don't give me this information, then I'm going to spend a good 10-15 minutes of the call gathering this information, so we have less time. So do answer. It's only just a few questions, but it'll give me an understanding of where you're at. So I'd love to speak to some of you who haven't had a call with me. Let's go through your book idea. Okay, Lyndon, my love, you've been patiently waiting. What's your question?
Hi, hi everybody. I'm new here, so
nice
welcome. Excuse me. Yeah, I was going to ask. What was I going to ask? Oh, I know. So I was going to go back to the social media post idea, which everybody seems to not enjoy. And I'm working with Michael Cheney, who is developing bots for everything. He's an AI mania. He's superb. And so basically, you can get a bot that will write social media posts. And Chat GPT, even the free version, and I know this for a fact because he's really researched it, if you say you want to write a popular post for Facebook, Chat GPT knows the platforms. It really knows all the platforms. So it will just come up with what you want immediately. It's fantastic.
Yeah, it is. That's a very good, that's again, it's context. So actually don't just put in this is for social media, because social media can mean anything. You actually literally say, I'm writing for LinkedIn, and then it goes, okay, this is career driven, it's professionals, and it writes in that tone. You say it's Facebook or Instagram, and it becomes far friendlier and starts throwing in loads of hashtags and fun little emojis because it understands, oh, it's Facebook, it's Instagram. You can even get it to do something for TikTok and give you an outline for a video, a small reel that you want to do on Instagram. But you've got to give it context. You've got to tell it who you are, what's your audience, what's your tone, and what platform it's going to go on. You do that and you'll be amazed at the level, how right it gets it. You know, I think when we first started messing around with Chat GPT, sort of back in November 2022, when we were just sort of like, oh, we can just go and ask it questions. It's like, it's very, very clever, but it's like an extremely clever person that you've employed on the very first day. And you're expecting that person to just slip into your business and know what's in your brain. It doesn't matter how clever that person is, they're not going to be able to do that. So that's what it's all about, giving it enough context. As long as you do that, you'll be amazed how clever it is.
Yeah. And writing scripts.
Yes.
Video scripts are great. It's really good. So if you want to make a 2-minute video, which I've been doing a lot of recently, just tell it 2-minute videos for my events. My events are this, and just write that out. And the scripts are great. They're brilliant.
I knew ChatGPT was going to be exceptionally good for that, because what I found out a year ago, that it's been trained on all the copywriting greats. I've got a load of books from various copywriters here, because my background is in copywriting before I got into books, and it's just annoying now. It's like I've got all these books, they're practically useless now, because all that information has been now piled into ChatGPT. I don't need those books anymore. It's using, some of the great copywriters who have now passed on, but their words and their turns of phrases, all the things that they split tested to see what converts and what doesn't convert, it's all inside ChatGPT and ready for you to use now. I'm sure, I'm glad I put it this way. I'm glad I've got out of copywriting, because I wouldn't have a job now. Why would you need a copywriter? Why would you need someone like me 10 years ago? You wouldn't need someone like me now. So thank God I got out of it when I did, really. Anyway, we're going over. Thank you so much, by the way, for everyone who's joined me. It's always, I love having, a lovely group of people who get involved. If you do want a book idea audit, please do. The link's in the chat. Do make sure you book some time with me so we can go through your idea and create a plan of action. And yes, hopefully I will see you all again at a future Thought Leader Author Forum. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for joining me. Have a good rest of the week.
Bye.
Bye.